Well, it is Throwback Thursday, which means it's time to dive into our vast CBC archives. As the election season heats up for us, we're taking a look back at NDP leader Carole James' campaign trail from 2009, a busy time when BC's forestry industry emerged as a critical issue, with it seeing thousands of job cuts under the BC Liberals. Have a look.
The day began in Gordon Campbell's riding of Vancouver Point Grey.
What a day.
Raw logs sit in the Burrard Inlet waiting to be exported. And along with them, says Carole James, will go more BC jobs. The NDP says they'll tax log exports so more wood produced in BC will stay here. Shipping logs offshore has nearly doubled under the Campbell reign, they say.
Since he took office, this industry has been in a tailspin. The irony is, while these British Columbians are losing their jobs, our forests, these logs, are creating jobs south of the border.
The next stop was the Comox Valley and the home of forest worker Jason Cox. He lost his job as a tree faller 5 months ago. The father of two says the forest industry is bleeding. He sees it every day.
Log truck after log truck heading for the sort. That wood hits the water and it's gone.
Comox is a community built on forest dollars. The recession has dealt the industry a major blow.
It's not good. It's going down the tubes.
And then it was on to Prince George. With forestry a key issue in the campaign, it's places like this that have become key ridings. Candidates are logging lots of time here, trying to convince British Columbians they can fix things. The two ridings in Prince George are at the heart of the forest fight. Deputy Premier Shirley Bond and Forest Minister Pat Bell are defending their seats here. With the forestry sector in shambles, the NDP is hoping to pick up at least one of those two seats.
Now, as BC's forestry industry continues to grapple with a dwindling wood fiber supply, mill closures and job losses, this is still a hot-button topic for this year's election. We're joined now by Charles Scott, a professor at the University of Northern British Columbia's School of Business. Charles, thanks for your time. First of all, what are the most pressing challenges facing the province's forest industry right now?
The forest industry in BC faces several challenges. The first of these is that you are facing a structural long-term decline in the amount of available wood fiber. So if you look at where we were before the pine beetle infestation that started in 1997-98 and killed a lot of the pine trees, and then the subsequent spruce bugs and then wildfires, you're looking at about a 40% drop in the long-term available fiber supply. The second one, which is not necessarily structural, but it is certainly very severe, is that you have some policy changes that have resulted in the available wood available right now being only about 40% of that reduced number, which means that if you look at where you were before the pine beetle, and where you are right now, you were at 60%, and then you're 40% of that. So you're at 24% of where you were before the pine beetle changed your dynamic. Mm-hmm. The first part of that is pine beetle, but the biggest part of that right now is policy.
Mm-hmm. And what about the impact of the fact that there has been a tightening of old growth or logging around old growth and the concerns about losing old growth?
And that would absolutely have an impact in certain parts of the province more severely than others. So in the central interior, where most of the production occurs, that is a piece of the problem, but it's not nearly as big as it is on the coast. So a much bigger issue for coastal producers than for central interior producers. The central interior producers, it's not zero, but it's not as dominant.
How can the provincial government better balance economic growth concerns, particularly when we see numerous mill closures and curtailments this year alone, while also ensuring environmental sustainability?
So one of the things that the province has contributed to negatively, one of the ways that it has made a serious situation worse, is by implementing changes without first working out exactly how that was going to work. So when you move from where you were before the beetle to 60% of that, that is severe. But when you curtail that by more than half because you've rolled out policy without figuring out how to make it work right away, now you're getting to areas that you haven't seen harvest levels since the 1960s. And that's why a lot of these mill closures are happening so quickly. So what the province needs to do is make sure that its ideas work before they implement them.
And how much of that is balanced off by the concerns that we've heard from industry, from unions about these job losses, and perhaps the adaptations that need to go into whether it's investing in new technology, new approaches?
Clearly, new technology is going to be part of the solution. Yes, absolutely. You are going to need to be able to deal with a very different wood profile. You're going to need to deal with different species than you're used to dealing with. All of these factors are essential for us having a viable forest sector going forward. And you need a policy framework that allows you to get at the wood that you can harvest sustainably, quickly, reliably, and cheaply.
And we appreciate your time. One last question. How confident are you that such a plan, such new or refined policies will come into place in this province?
There is no question in my mind that they will come into place. What I am concerned about is how many people will lose their jobs before they do. You've got a lot of people who make a very good living who are discovering that their options are being disrupted, and communities that need those jobs. And if you take a year to work it out, that's a year that many of these folks don't have. So I'm expecting that we can get to a solution that can work. I am worried about how many additional jobs will be lost before that is achieved.
Charles Scott, a professor at UNBC's School of Business. We appreciate your time and your expertise. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Take care.